BookTube, and welcome to a new video. This is going to be two short tags. They were filmed several days apart, so there's going to be some continuity nonsense, splicing the two together into one video. When I film the first one, which will be possibly the second one that you'll see, I didn't know I was going to make a second tag video that would go on the end of it, so apologies in advance for that. So this is the first one. This is the A tag, originated by Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff, and I shall post here the link to his video. And this is a series of prompts prompted by the letter A and concepts to do with words that begin with the letter A. So prompt 1. A is for America. What do you consider the great American novel? Well, I don't understand the Americans' obsession with trying to find the great American novel, because is there a great British novel? You know, somehow that encapsulates the whole nation of its identity and its history and its people. I mean, I don't think it's possible, and I wonder if America's relative young age makes them think it's more possible, because they've only got 300 years to try and encapsulate. But the concept of encapsulating 300 years of variety and diversity and in one book just seems, you know, impossible to me. Having said that, I think it's possible to capture eras. So, for example, American Pastoral by Philip Roth captures the 60s era of conflict between the sort of conservative way of life and the challenge to it that was brought about by the radicals. Roth himself penned a book called The Great American Novel, though I think in satire, based entirely around the world of baseball, because that was the symbol he was using to represent America. But I don't think for one moment, despite its title, Roth is saying this book will tell you everything you need to know about America. Another book would be Underworld by Don DeLillo, which again about the 60s and the Kennedy assassination and the paranoia and the vested interest groups around that. But again, you know, that's one particular decade. It's not the great American novel of all time for America. So no, I don't believe it can be done. 2, A is for arc. Which character in literature has the most interesting character arc? I wouldn't know, because to me the fundamental weakness of so much fiction is the assumption that characters have arcs, that characters go on journeys. And yes, I appreciate it's a long established trope of, you know, art to illustrate and teach and give us insight into our own lives, so that the start of the book, the start of the character's journey, point A, is very different by the end of their journey, point Z, and the development that at least their understanding has gone, and that takes the reader along with them. But the problem for me is people don't live their lives like that. Real life people. And if they do, they've probably had some self-help impetus into that. People are much more about being stuck and repeating their behaviours, and I find those books much more value to read in fiction than so if a book has a character arc, I'm far less likely to pick it up to read than one which doesn't. 3. A is for Australia. What was the last book you read by an Australian author? It was this, The Performance. I think I read it at the start of May. I can't remember now. Maybe in the end of April. By Claire Thomas, and very good it is too. 5 stars. It's 3 Australian women in Melbourne of different generations find themselves in a theatre watching a production of Samuel Beckett's Happy Days, and you know, the things that it prompts in them as they're watching, all set against the backdrop outside the theatre of these terrible raging forest fires that Australia is increasingly susceptible to. I'll post the link to my review of this. And my next Australian book will be Trent Dalton's follow-up to Boy Swallows Universe, which is called All Our Shimmering Skies. I'm not quite sure when I'll get to it, but that will be my next Australian book. A is for Austen. What do you plan to read for Jane Austen July? I'm going to read David Peace's third in his Tokyo trilogy called Tokyo Redux, set in the immediate aftermath of World War II and the 2 atomic bombs. From that you'll guess I'm not participating in Jane Austen July, and I'm not participating in it, not because my own new novel comes out in July and I shall be busy marketing that, but that's not the reason that I won't be participating in Jane Austen July. 5. A is for automobile. What is your favourite literary automobile? I'm not aware of any. I'm a non-driver, and cars just don't register with me from books, and yet they do in music. I mean, there's plenty of songs that register with me with cars. So the Tom Robinson Band, Grey Cortina, the Clash's cover version of Brand New Cadillac on their London Calling album, Public Enemy's '98 Oldsmobile, the opening 2 lyrics of Joy Division's Day of the Lords, which is about a sort of a car abandoned on wasteland in post-industrial Manchester, and the sort of view all around it. Are there any others? Oh, Hot Sea Girl by World Domination Enterprises, which is a pay-on to their tour van. So music, I register cars, automobiles, but literature, no. 6. A is for anonymous. What is your favourite book or poem published anonymously? Probably 1001 Nights, but in the sort of modern era, it was the book with no name. I can't say it's a favourite. It's the only one I can recall, a modern book with an anonymous author. I think I gave it 3 stars. 7. A is for autobiography. What was the last autobiography you've read? I don't read them, although I have started writing a fairly screwy version of my own. I was asked by a writer friend of mine, Daniel James, to contribute to a book of essays he was putting out in the wake of his debut novel called The Unauthorised Biography of Ezra Mouse, which is very good, and I highly recommend if you like sort of your melons being twisted in a sort of postmodern autofic faction blurs with reality manner. And he asked me to pen an essay around the book, his book, and I wrote this sort of mad, freewheeling, free associating essay on reality and non-reality. And I thought, if I was ever to do my own autobiography, that would be the style in which I'm going to do it. So I've made a few notes. I mean, I'm not sure when I'm going to get to this because I have other more pressing writing projects, but I've made a start on it. 8. A is for audiobooks. Do you consider listening to an audiobook as reading? I absolutely do. I mean, I don't see why one wouldn't, even though I personally don't use audiobooks. The 2 reasons I don't use them is I find it hard to have the progress through a book being paced by somebody else. I have to go at my pace, because there are plenty of times where I will put the book down to go and look something up that has been prompted by the book, be it a word in a dictionary or an actual fact or something. So I want to remain in control of the pacing through the book rather than hand it over to somebody else. And the second reason that I think I need that print book in front of my eyes for my focus, because if you're listening to it through headphones or whatever, you're free to move around the room, you're free to do other things with your hands. I don't think I have the discipline not to do that, and that would pull me out of the book, because I wouldn't be giving it my 100% attention. So I have no problem with audiobooks being regarded as reading, but just as a personal choice, that's not how I consume my books. So thanks to Jim over at Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff, and on to the next tag. It's the BookTube Island Castaway tag, which was originated by AJ Dunn. I was tagged by being the answer to a couple of these prompts for Roz and Alan, who both then, as I'm going to say, that any booktuber that is an answer of mine in this tag is duly invited to do the tag themselves. Okay, so the premise is you were shipwrecked in the YouTube ocean, easily done, and washed up on the shores of BookTube Island. You must trek across the island in search of rescue. Along the way you encounter other booktubers, who presumably were washed up with you. Explain why you've chosen them. Okay, so prompt 1. You come across a hut whose inhabitant decides to be your guide. Which booktuber do you trust to guide you across the island? I think I'm going to go with Kathy Grimm of The Grim Reader. I think that's what her channel's currently called, although she did change it really recently. Simply because I think I'd be in solid, thoughtful, safe hands. 2, you set off in search of food and come across a booktuber who can feed you. Who is it? I thought long and hard about this, and I had several different answers initially, but then some of those booktubers were answers for later prompts. So I've gone with Dane Cobain of Dane Reads, who's a multifaceted booktuber. He doesn't just talk about books, he's also a musician, and sometimes posts clips of songs and live performances. But he's also a vegan cook, and I'm not a vegan myself, but Dane is sort of endlessly inventive with what you can do with what I always see as a fairly limited list of ingredients. 3, also, if Dane's doing the cooking on the island, it means we don't have to capture any live animals for our food. 3, you and your guide somehow get lost, and as I said to somebody's, I think it was Bookish's, if you get lost with your guide, they're not much of a guide, but that's no reflection on Kathy. That's been pre-established by AJ Dunn, that you're going to get lost. You and your guide somehow get lost, and you're thirsty. Which booktuber could lead you to water? This was the hardest prompt of all, and initially my answer for this was actually my answer for who could be the best cook, but I just sort of elided it over to this one, and that's Andrea from Infinite Text, because Andrea does a lot of reading about sort of nature and learning to recognise different foodstuffs that grow naturally, different animals and stuff. I think she'd just be the sort of the natural person to douse for water. 4, yikes, you fall into a hidden pit. Which booktuber would you look to get you out? Who has the longest arms? I can't tell from booktube videos. I don't really have an answer for this. Does anyone have Rapunzel-like hair that one could climb on? Not off the top of my head. I don't have one for that. 5, the salty air is destroying your clothes. Which booktuber would you let clothe you? Well, my answer is the same as the answer from everyone I've seen just about, which is Pay from Attention, who's the best dressed man on BookTube. Sorry, Sean the Bookmaniac, Pay's more my style. He sort of rocks a Roland S. Howard of the birthday party kind of look. But if I was going to sort of feed my anima and wear a frock, and I have performed in a nurse's uniform, I've read live before, I think I would ask Hannah of Hannah's Books to clothe me. I think she would do a good job. 6, even castaways need distractions. Which booktuber do you find who gives you the most entertainment? Well, Marilyn Mayer Mendoza. I love her energy and her positivity, and also I believe she lives on the coast anyway, so I think she'd have a very good appreciation of everything on a tropical island. I'm assuming this is a tropical island rather than soggy old Britain. 7, shucks, you've been hurt. You need to find a booktuber to heal you. Who is it? I don't know physically who'd heal me, but Johnny Keane would definitely heal my soul, I believe. And as we all know, mind over matter is very important in even physical healing. 8, now it's raining. Which booktuber do you meet who could build you a solid shelter? Well, there's only one answer for this, which is Todd the librarian, because Todd builds houses for his neighbours and stuff. He lives out in the wilds in, I think, Kentucky, and it's very much a neighbourly support system. And Todd Todd hasn't been on BookTube much recently, mainly because he's so busy off helping neighbours build and do stuff. So Todd would knock one up faster than a whole community of Amish. 9, you come across a booktuber who challenges your perceptions. Who is it? I have 2 jointly here, Paperbird and Orpheus. I don't watch many of Orpheus's videos because he is so intellectually fierce. I'm slightly intimidated. And Paperbird just makes mind-bending booktube videos. And I do read similar books, although Orpheus is far more better read than I am, to those 2 guys. 10, you find the source of all knowledge on BookTube Island. Which booktuber holds that knowledge? That would be Chris at Leaf by Leaf, who is the font of all knowledge of difficult and challenging fiction, and who I hugely respect. Although I noticed recently that that on Goodreads, when I came to rate a book I just finished, which was La Medusa by Vanessa Place, Chris has marked it to read. So I've actually read a book that he's not yet got round to. We read The Recognitions reasonably similarly timed. He got there slightly ahead of me. 11. You finally have a chance to be rescued. Which booktuber do you trust to save you? I think I will go with Doris of Audiobooks because she has the most soothing and reassuring voice of anyone on BookTube. She's also a teacher, and she's also a nurturer of cats and her son via her vlogs and BookTube and stuff. So I think Doris would get the job done. Doris would be the rescue remedy totally. And 12, you've been saved. Tag another booktuber to go on a BookTube Island Castaway adventure. We've just had an adventure. Why do I want to go on another one? But anyway, as I say, everyone I've tagged in this, please feel free to do the tag. Okay, so thanks very much to AJ, Dan, Roz and Alan. Till next time.